Last week's Parsha, or this week's Parsha for those in Chutz La'aretz, Korach unites all the anarchist misfits. Remember when I was in college, I had to take one women's studies course just to a token course, because you can't get your degree at any other college like that. So that's why maybe you shouldn't go to college if they're going to teach you these nonsense things. I turned their nonsense on them. I basically had to, everything I said was like sarcastic and they didn't get it. It said to find a feminist here, an example of feminist music. So I just wrote a whole thing about how I think it was Britney Spears' music is feminist and strong and empowering and all that. Utter nonsense. I got an A. Okay. That was back then. I think you couldn't go anywhere without hearing of her and whatever. It was just the whole culture was then not exactly healthy, and now it's just much worse. Okay. It's gone from terminally ill to dead on arrival. That's what it's like. So there was one thing that they were saying, that there was supposed to be some sort of protest, United for Peace and Justice. Isn't that a good name? They always have this, United for Peace and Justice. You don't believe in that. It was like the whole Black Lives Matter, or you disagree with such a proposal. You don't like children. It's like everybody agrees. Every life matters. Just you're just saying that because you're a bunch of anarchist terrorists, but whatever. So it was United for Peace and Justice. I pointed out, maybe sometimes you don't want to go to these things because it's all the groups that if I could borrow the term, all the deplorables go to those things. So you probably noticed Korach. What was his complaint? Korach, according to Chazal, we don't hear much from Korach himself in last week's parsha, except say, "Umadua titnasu al kal Hashem." Everybody's holy. Why are you in charge? That's what Korach says. Okay. Now, Chazal fill in the blank. Korach's complaint was basically just making fun of the Torah. Like, why does the mitzvahs work out this way? That Aaron gets all the tithes, and you have to wear tzitzis this way. And why do we have to shave the Levium? It's a mockery of everything. He just mocks the Torah as it is. That's what Korach is. Dustin and Aviram have a much more political claim against Moshe Rabbeinu. Up until now, remember, they obviously tzaddikim enough to have left Egypt. They're Kriyei Edah, Kriyei Haidah. They're important guys in Shevet Ruvain. They're not the Nasi themselves, but they're big shots. They weren't the Meraglim who died and tried to turn people against this whole thing. They've lasted until this point. They stood at Ma'amad Har Sinai. They've survived until this point. And they complain to Moshe Rabbeinu and says, "You have not taken us to a land of milk and honey. Now you're telling us we're just going to have to stay here." We discussed this last week. The people could have said to Moshe Rabbeinu, "Yesterday told us we're entering the land of Israel, and overnight we cried about this and then repented. And then he told us too late. We had a 3-hour window and it was closed because we said, oh, we don't want to go before we realized our mistake. And then tomorrow you already say we can't go. And now we have to stay put in the desert for another 38 years to fill it out to get to a total of 40. Yom Lashana. So wait a second. We ain't going to do this anymore, Moshe Rabbeinu. You have to bring us somewhere. That was Dasan Avir's complaint. Failed leadership. And the 250 men of Ruvain, Bikashtem Kuna. They're looking for Kuna. They want to go to the Mishkan and try to offer incense like they used to just a month ago. Up until the Hakamas Mishkan, the service, Korbanos, was done by firstborn. And then the Mishkan was set up and they said, all firstborn are traded for a Levite. And now the Levites own the divine service. And even then, the divine service is broken up among the tribe. Levites are to guard the temple and sing in the temple and act as the gatekeepers. And also they're to transport the temple. And a subgroup of Levites are actually to offer the sacrifices. That's it. So they wanted their kahuna back. So they wanted to test that. They want to see, we'll offer incense in the fire pans and see if it also works. So that's their complaint. So what do you mean? What do they have in common? Dasan Avir want to get somewhere. They want progress in getting their homesteads. And these 250 men, perhaps others, want the chance to be Kohanim. And Korach is making fun of the way the mitzvahs have played out. And they're trying to accomplish what? It's like the alphabet people and the Islamo-fascists and the feminists and all sorts of other crazies are united against what the system. Bring down the system. Well, what are they accomplish afterwards? What unites them? The day after, it's like On Ben Pellet's wife, Mrs. On, according to the matters, basically said to On, what are you going to accomplish? You bring down the Moshe system, and then Korach's in charge. And you're still not going to have what you want. That's what it is. Whenever you have the misfits unite against the truth, then there's no truth to them. They're just a bunch of they just hate. And I heard this from a wise Goyish fellow who said that he said this. He didn't talk about Korach. He just said that he was admiring leftists and socialists and agitators back where he was as a youth, and he realized they weren't actually trying to help the poor and make things good for society. It was more like just hatred and jealousy for those who had, because everything they proposed would just make things worse for everybody else, just bring down the system. But that means good. That's the problem with Korach. Korach unites the misfits in complaining about the system, but really he has nothing in common with his compatriots except their hatred of what is, and they also have no real plan for what to do tomorrow.